Aaron Rodgers watch. And how's the Mason Rudolph reunion sound? All that and more. Big Deep News. Here's the latest on the Aaron Rodgers decision. I don't think anyone knows shit. You got the two top reporters in the NFL basically saying, like, yeah, it's between Steelers, Giants, Rodgers. He's taking his time with the decision. I don't know. Could be today.
I don't know what Aaron's thinking right now. And he's a tough guy to predict. Well, how did Mark Murphy describe him? He's a complicated fella. I was told yesterday it was going to be some time. Now, I don't know what some time. That was yesterday morning. Okay, so what is some time? Is some time a day? Is it a week? Is it a few? I don't know what some time is.
Also considering the Pittsburgh Steelers, two storied organizations, both in it for Aaron Rodgers. Potentially today, by the start of the league year, we will learn where Aaron Rodgers lands for 2025.
You have the NFL Network's Peter Schrager saying there's no timetable from the Steelers on Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers, we know, is going somewhere. And it might not be just a week. It might be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. If you think you know the answer to what Aaron Rodgers' timetable is, you know more than the Steelers or the Giants do, because I've spoken to sources on both sides, and everyone's kind of got that shrug emoji. We're waiting, we're seeing, giving them space, let them decide. Hashtag Steelers, hashtag NFL. Mike Florio from Pro Football Talk, he's basing his opinion off of the Jerry Dulac tweets from yesterday, but he's saying the negotiations probably aren't going too well between Rodgers and the Steelers, that money is a sticking point.
The problem is the money.
But then you got Ralph Vacciano, who's a Fox Sports writer, who's saying it's not really about the money when it comes to Rodgers' decision. One last Aaron Rodgers note, a source insists Rodgers' decision between Steelers and Giants was all about the situation and fit, not about the money. And then in parentheses, he says, just then in my head, I heard George Young saying, when they say it's not about the money, it's all about the money. We saw what happened with the Myles Garrett situation. So, yeah, we don't know shit right now. We don't know shit. Here's what we do know is Aaron Rodgers should be officially released by the Jets at 4 p.m. today. So maybe that's the thing that gets the ball rolling, that Rodgers felt like, I don't really need to make a decision in this whole tampering period because it's not even going to be official when I make the decision just yet. So why not wait at least till 4 p.m. on Wednesday? But after that, I don't think any of us really have a clue, because we're hearing from the top reporters in the league saying that they don't really know. Maybe it's today. Hopefully it's today. And then from other guys, they're talking about what are the sticking points in these conversations. One thinks it's about the money, and another doesn't really think it's about the money. So who knows? Yeah, because I could come here and tell you, man, the Steelers are holding this thing up. They're lowballing Aaron Rodgers, but we really don't know that for a fact, because Mike Florio is just basing his opinion off of the Jerry Dulac tweets. And then you got Ralph from Fox Sports saying the Rodgers decision ultimately isn't going to really come down to money. There you go. What I do know is I want a decision as soon as possible. I think we all can agree on that, because the Steelers really have a chance. And I feel like once you know your quarterback, literally the most important position in football, the most important position in sports, once you know your quarterback, you can go into the rest of free agency with a little more confidence in what you're selling to some of these guys that you're trying to bring into the team. Like if you have Aaron Rodgers, all of a sudden Cooper Kupp's about to get released from the Rams today. You could talk to Cooper Kupp and say, look at what this offense could be if we include you. Aaron Rodgers, you're our slot guy. On the outside, we got DK Metcalf and George Pickens. You don't think all of a sudden the Steelers become a more enticing option if we include Aaron Rodgers to a Cooper Kupp or maybe a Stephon Diggs? Yeah, I think it does help our chances of landing one of those guys. And if I'm the Steelers, I want to do something like that. If we're getting an Aaron Rodgers, if we're trading for a DK Metcalf, if we're signing a Darius Slay on defense, we're in win-now mode. We're trying to win this season. So why not try to help your chances the best to win by bringing in another stud receiver? And it's not, Cooper Kupp, everyone's wondering if he's washed, if his best days are behind him. Rams are releasing him. Deshaun McVay knows something that the rest of the league doesn't. But most teams that are looking at Cooper Kupp, they're probably trying to get him to be their number 2. If you're the Steelers, you'd be having him be your number 3, and Aaron Rodgers would be your quarterback. I think that's a whole different situation. It's almost like going back to Tampa Bay. I keep on bringing up the Brady Tampa Bay scenario and comparing it to Rodgers potentially signing here, but it can be very similar if the Steelers play free agency a certain way. Again, with Tampa, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin outside, they sign AB, and he becomes their slot. Now, I think AB at the time still had it more than a Cooper Kupp or even a Diggs, but you get the comparisons here. DK Metcalf, Pickens, and a Cooper Kupp or Diggs in the slot with an all-timer at quarterback, with an Aaron Rodgers at quarterback in his 40s, where with Tampa Bay, you had Tom Brady in his 40s back there, and you see how it worked out. You could see the similarities, no? You definitely could see the similarities. So that's what I'm calling for. That's what I'm hoping for if this decision can be made as soon as possible. As soon as possible. Like, nothing's holding us back from still bringing in a Cooper Kupp or a Diggs, but I just think it makes the sell. It makes our team that much more intriguing to a Kupp or a Diggs if you have an Aaron Rodgers, right? So that's why we want this decision being made as soon as possible. I don't think Kupp or Diggs want to sign with the team and be the third receiver on a squad if they don't know who the quarterback is. If it's going to end up eventually being a rookie quarterback, or if it's, who knows, man? Like, who knows at this point? I know Russ is potentially a backup plan, but I'm also seeing the Steelers reached out to Mason Rudolph from multiple people. Andrew Filipponi tweeted it out. You also had DK from DK Pittsburgh Sports dropping an exclusive report about it. So Mason Rudolph could potentially be an option. I would assume it would be for QB2, not necessarily starter, but if we don't land Aaron Rodgers, anything could be on the table. From my standpoint, again, I know Russ is being talked about as like the next option, but I'm not really the biggest fan of bringing back Russ in general. So why not? Yeah, why not reach out to Mason Rudolph and maybe have him compete for QB1 with a rookie quarterback that you draft? Or I like this option. I was thinking about this yesterday because obviously I brought up my next approach would be, if we don't get Aaron Rodgers, trade the house and get Cam Ward. But we know that's unlikely. What about trading for Joe Milton, man? What about trading for him? Did you see what he did in Week 18 last year with the Patriots? Now, granted, it was against some Bills backups on defense, but he looked pretty damn good. He looked really damn good. If you want to talk about upside and ceiling like we were with Justin Fields, Joe Milton, I would argue, maybe has better upside and ceiling than a Justin Fields. And it didn't look like a regular season game or the NFL stage was too big for him last year when he got an opportunity late in his rookie season. Now, granted, there is context involved, but still, I think if you're the Steelers, you got to shoot for ceiling. You got to shoot for upside. And Joe Milton has a cannon, can move really well. And, man, you could see it. Like, you could see it. If he could put it all together, like, he could be one of those elite guys. So I'd trade for Joe Milton. I'm not even kidding you. If the reports are true that the Patriots would be open to moving off of Joe Milton, I'd trade like a 4th or a 5th round pick for him. And then, like I said, bring in Mason as like your more safe option. Have them compete in the offseason. Maybe even draft a guy too. I mean, I'm not even going to front. That's a lot of resources being put into your quarterback position. But really not. I mean, if you're giving up a 4th or a 5th for Joe Milton and maybe drafting a guy in the 1st and then signing Mason Rudolph to like a 1-year deal, $6 million, I don't think that's actually anything crazy for the league's most important position. Now, we may be missing out on defensive tackle and some other positions that we need at this point. Corner we're good at if we do have Darius Slay. I'm still not sure if we have Darius Slay. Although we still could use, we need like another slot guy or something, but that could be taken care of in free agency. I'm just saying there's some other avenues I think we should look at if we don't get Aaron Rodgers. I'm seeing Kirk Cousins' name being thrown out there. Just don't even think about it. Just get out of here with that. Yeah, so I think the next pivot, and you could sell me on multiple options here. I think a trade for Joe Milton and a Mason Rudolph signing, wouldn't be a bad idea. I think trading the house, going to get Cam Ward, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Bringing in Mason, and instead of trading for Joe Moten, just drafting a guy early. Shador, if he falls, a Jackson Dart, a Tyler Shuck from Louisville, a Jalen Milroe, a Will Howard, potentially later. Will Howard maybe in the third round or something. Like, you could sell me on that, but none of those. I don't think any of those hit the same as just signing Aaron Rodgers. Just sign Aaron Rodgers, and then, as I said, who knows what could happen after that? Who knows what free agents we could start attracting, like a Cooper Kupp, like a Diggs. We could have as our third receiver. We still need defensive line, though. I think that's the most pressing need at this point. We need defensive line, and a lot of good defensive linemen got signed in free agency. So, yeah, we're in this weird spot where we might have to draft Kenneth Grant in the first round, but depending on what happens at quarterback, we also may have to draft a quarterback early. Oh, well. Yeah, that's it for today's update, the latest on the Steeler news, the Aaron Rodgers saga, and some option Bs that may be out there, some second plans that could be out there for us. I know it's Russ. I know people keep saying Russ, but I don't know, man. I feel like we need to get something more exciting. I think we need to get something more that has more potential, that has more upside. Because, again, with a Kirk Cousins, with those type of options, I just think we already know how the season's going to play out. I think we already know the offense is going to be limited to a degree that we can't compete with these other AFC quarterbacks. With a Rodgers, with some of the other options we laid out there, I think there's at least some there's some intrigue, there's some potential, there's some ceiling that can be scratched there. Maybe less with Mason, but I don't know. I mean, he can still throw a good deep ball. Didn't work out exactly that good in Tennessee, but Tennessee also not really the best of circumstances either. Played admirably at times in some of the games that I saw from him. But, it wasn't that good. It wasn't that good. I would have been cool with Mason as our quarterback, the Mason-Kenny competition last offseason. So, I mean, he's another year older. I don't think his talent or anything like that is diminishing in the course of a year. So it wouldn't be the worst. It really wouldn't be the worst option at this point. I would be open to it, but this is literally where we're at. This is where we're at if Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign. If he doesn't, I'm trying to get creative. I'm not going just back to Russ. I'm not doing just that whole safe approach. I'm not doing Kirk Cousins. No, try to think outside the box a little bit. But that's it. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Stay chilling. Peace.